rebound from the effects of the pandemic. We're talking about a really tough subject tonight, military suicides. They are on the rise, and one Air Force Spouse of the Year speaking her truth, hoping to encourage others to get help. Now, we do want to warn you, there's a phone call in this story that can be really hard to listen to, but we're sharing it in hopes that we can help save lives.
I love getting these coins because I know that they are not given out lightly. You earn them.
And earn them she did. Kristen Christie has an infectious spirit. She's a mom, a volunteer, a military spouse, and her smile lights up a room, even though she's experienced some of the darkest days.
I never in a million years would have expected to be sitting here talking about this subject. 13 years ago, my first husband took his life after a deployment.
It happened in 2008, 4 years after Donald Christie's deployment.
Not as a counselor, just as a human being. I think PTS, post-traumatic stress, was a stowaway from his deployment that just was not on the radar.
At the time, their sons were 12 and 14 years old, and it was a difficult journey raising their two boys as they all mourned. Kristen received this voicemail from her youngest, Ben, on his 20th birthday.
I miss Dad. I miss Dad so much. I can't live without him. I can't. I need him right now. I need him so much.
Kristen says Ben tried to take his life that night, but thankfully he got help and he now works at Edwards Air Force Base. Sadly, though, her older son Ryan disappeared more than 5 years ago. He would be 27 today.
Ryan Christie, if you're out there and you see this, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I would love a phone call if you're out there. When we were at the White House.
Through Kristen's strong faith and sense of community, she was able to open up about their story 10 years after Donald's death, when she became Military Spouse of the Year in 2018.
I tell our story in the hope that maybe someone down the line, when they're in a really dark place, that they'll remember, it'll give them pause. Because so often it's within minutes of an ideation that it happens. I mean, we don't have any time to waste.
She now teaches resiliency. She's done over 120 presentations. These coins, tangible evidence of her testimony. She's learned of at least 21 lives who have been saved from hearing her son's voicemail.
One gentleman walked out and he had a piece of paper in his hand. It was a suicide note. He was planning on taking his life that night, but he had 2 little boys at home. He felt like he was a burden to his family. It saved his life. He was meant to be there.
Well, there's more suicide awareness now than ever before. With the pandemic, Kristen is heartbroken because she learned of at least 5 local military spouses who took their lives last year. And she says the suicide rates are only getting worse.
And the veteran community, it's no longer 22 on average a day, it's 27 and a half. It's going the wrong way.
Kristen says this is a community-wide issue.
Resiliency is a skill. We learn skills and we master skills. It's not something you're born with. And the more that we can help people develop those skills when they're active duty, hopefully when they transition to become veterans, they'll have those resources available, and maybe we won't have such a veteran crisis that we have now.
Kristen says we have to ask the hard questions, including, are you thinking of hurting yourself? Knowing that if you hear yes, there are so many resources out there, and people like her are ready at a moment's notice to work to save lives.
If I could leave you with one thing, hope is not canceled.
And Kristen even helped spearhead the 3-digit suicide lifeline number. 988 will be in place next summer. And right now, if you're someone you know is struggling, call this number on your screen. It's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-8255. It's also on this story on our website. There is help available 24/7 and specific military and veteran help on the end of the line as well.
Boy, that is a powerful message that needs to be told. It is difficult to listen to, but so important. And you talked to her about the red flags that she saw regarding her husband before that tragedy, Elizabeth.
Right, and she didn't realize it then. There was less awareness back then. And it happened 4 years after his deployment, but it was very subtle things. He was more introverted than before. He was biting his fingernails like he hadn't done before. And she later learned that he had put their family picture down on his desk. So these little things that you may not even realize, she had no idea back then. Looking back, she wishes she had known. But she wants to encourage people, Rob, to talk about the little things because they may not be so small. So take notice of that.